Bungie dropped an absolutely juiced blog on February 1st, giving us insight into weapon tuning that is going to be happening alongside the launch of Lightfall. One important thing that stuck out to me within that blog post was this little bit about kinetic weapons. Bungie is now buffing kinetic damage weapons from doing 5% more damage to now 10% more for primary weapons and 15% more for special weapons, as well as stasis no longer doing that additional 5% that kinetic slot weapons previously would have. The last note there is that a kinetic damage type perk will be coming with Lightfall as well, and that has me incredibly excited to see. However, with all this new information, I thought I would give you guys a few kinetic weapons, both primary and special, that I think you guys should pick up and grind for prior to Lightfall. These are going to be both exotic as well as legendary weapons that you need to get your hands on so you can take advantage of this buff once Lightfall drops. Before we get into the video though, my dog Reese is telling you guys that you need to drop a like and subscription to the channel so he can get himself some new treats. And you don't want to say no to getting this handsome boy some new treats, do you? Alright, now let's get into the video. We're going to be starting out this list with some kinetic primary weapons. And first up is going to be the Submission 900 RPM SMG that is obtainable and craftable from the Vow of the Disciple raid, which will be farmable from the week of February 7th to the 14th. For this weapon, I recommend going for the role of Corkscrew, Tactical Mag for some additional bullets, then Overflow and Frenzy for the perks, and make those enhanced if you are crafting this weapon. This weapon is one of my favorite SMGs when it comes to the kinetic slot because I am an absolute lover of the Overflow perk, and Frenzy combined with that is an incredibly solid roll, and the fact that this is craftable is also an added bonus. Next on my list here is going to be the Fatebringer, a staple to Destiny from the Vault of Glass raid, specifically though the Time Lost version. This weapon is currently farmable as of the time of me recording this, February 3rd, and if you complete the Master Templar challenge, which is simply defeating the Templar without letting him teleport, then you are guaranteed to have what is arguably the god roll anyways of explosive payload as well as Firefly. However, I would also recommend trying to get Corkscrew, Flared Magwell, and because of double perks for the Time Lost version, I would also try and get Frenzy in the 4th column to give you some variability when it comes to usages with this weapon. Third for primary weapons is going to be the Smite of Moraine Pulse Rifle from the King's Fall raid, another craftable weapon as well. This pulse rifle is actually quite solid when it comes to kinetics that are good in PvE, and I would recommend chasing the role of Corkscrew, Flared Magwell, Stats for All, 1 for All, and then if you choose to craft it, those perks enhanced as well. This weapon does drop from a few encounters within the King's Fall raid, those being Warpriest, Daughters, and the Oryx boss encounter as well, giving you a few shots at both the red border version or just the base roll of the weapon, whichever route you choose to go for with this. Coming up next is going to be another craftable weapon, this one being the Tears of Contrition 180 RPM Scout Rifle from the Season of the Haunted. This weapon has very easy accessibility to it, making it super simple to craft, especially now that Bungie has enabled you to get a new red border each day leading up to Lightfall. When it comes to the roll on this weapon, I would recommend going for Arrowhead, Flared, Triple Tap or Well-Rounded, and then 4 times the Charm or Explosive Payload, depending on how you want to build this weapon. If you were interested in a different scout rifle than this one, then I would recommend either the Night Watch, which is a free drop from one of the new light quests, and it essentially gives you a god roll, or you could go for the Hung Jury, which is the Nightfall weapon this week, with the roll of Rapid Hit, and then Explosive Payload or Frenzy. Fifth up here on this list is going to be the 450 RPM auto rifle from the Dreaming City, Tiger's Bite. I personally think this weapon is super slept on and will probably be a very solid choice in Lightfall, especially with the perk combination of Overflow and Frenzy that it has access to. Corkscrew and Flared Magwell to round out the rest of the roll, and you have yourself an incredibly solid auto rifle. This weapon is also super easy to get, as you can focus Umbrals at the Season of the Risen table in the Helm into the Dreaming City Arsenal focus, and then you can have a chance at it from both Blind Wells as well as the Shattered Throne dungeon, making this a very easy weapon to obtain. Now we're going to move on to some exotics for the kinetic primary slot. Starting off with Outbreak Perfected. This will be an absolute must to have on the day 1 raid, and this thing was incredibly strong to begin with, and now with this buff to kinetic primary weapons, it is going to be even stronger. This weapon is a phenomenal choice if you happen to run out of ammo in a damage phase, or if you just need to do some primary weapon damage. You can get this weapon from the exotic kiosk in the tower underneath the red War Exotics tab. Touch of Malice is another exotic kinetic that should be absolutely insane with this buff, with the ability to survive for so long if you're in a well, paired alongside the blinding shot that comes out of it, and now this 10% damage buff. This thing could be great. If you have been blessed with the RNG of getting this weapon from the King's Fall raid, then I highly recommend trying this out once Lightfall drops. Another exotic I feel as though will get a lot stronger from this buff is the brand new exotic pulse rifle Revision 0. Its normal base usage is actually quite strong for endgame content alone, as it not only has 2 different fire modes, but it also has anti-barrier intrinsically. On top of that, it has the sniper mode, and with the roll of 4 times the charm and Vorpal, this thing can have a total of 8 sniper shots if you proc everything at the perfect time. You can get this from the new Operation Seraph Shield exotic quest this season, and I would highly recommend doing it not even just for the weapon, but also for the experience of the quest, because I really love everything about it and all of the atmosphere within that quest. The last primary kinetic I have on my list is none other than the exotic bow Wish-Ender. This weapon is easily one of the strongest kinetics in the game, with it having anti-barrier intrinsically, wall hacks, and it also hits 3 separate times. You can acquire this weapon by completing the exotic quest tied to the weapon. You do, however, need the Forsaken DLC to have access to it, but the quest will be in your quest kiosk at the tower or in your inventory if you have it. If you don't by chance have this in either of those places, then all you have to do is enter the Shattered Throne dungeon, complete the first boss, and get to this statue of Zur Ido. From there, complete the necessary steps and get this incredible bow. Moving on to kinetic special weapons now, which are getting a 15% damage buff. We are going to start off with the Ignition Code Grenade Launcher. This weapon is currently in the week 3 pool for Dares of Eternity, or it can be sold at Zur. This is one of the most unique weapons in the game, specifically because it is a grenade launcher that has access to Slide Shot. With Slide Shot, you are able to shoot your grenades incredibly quick in succession, and this allows you to clear a lot of rooms or even blind a ton of ads. The role I would recommend going for would be Hard Launch, and then Blinding Nades. Spike Nades would also be an added bonus, and then Slide Shot, and either Frenzy, Vorpal, or Danger Zone. Our next 2 special weapons are going to both be craftable and obtainable from the same location, those being the Heritage Slug Shotgun and the Succession Aggressive Frame Sniper Rifle. These are both obtainable from the Atraks encounter, which is the second encounter inside of the Deepstone Crypt raid. For Heritage, I would recommend chasing the role of Small Bore Assault Mag for faster shooting, and then Reconstruction, and either Focus Fury or Recombination. Personally, I would go for Focus Fury over Recombination. Now, for Succession, I would go for Fluted Barrel, Extended Mag for more ammo, then Reconstruction and Firing Line or Recombination. Again, I would personally be going for Firing Line over Recombination, but that is just me. The final 3 weapons I have on this list are all exotics, with them being Witherhoard, Arbalest, and Izanagi's Burden. Witherhoard is one of my most used weapons in the game for quite literally any kind of content, and it will only become better with this buff to kinetic weapons. You can get Witherhoard from the exotic kiosk in the tower underneath of the Shadowkeep exotics. Next up is Arbalest, which is a world drop exotic, meaning that it can drop from any activity and can also be sold by Zur, so be on the lookout for that. This weapon having intrinsic anti-barrier is an incredible alternative for Wish-Ender if you want to run either double special or a primary energy weapon. Lastly is Izanagi's Burden, which is looking to be a very possible piece of the DPS meta come Lightfall. This weapon can also be purchased through the exotic kiosk, this time under the Forsaken exotics. The Honed Edge times 4 shot from Izanagi's is absolutely insane for doing a hot swap DPS meta, which it is looking like it is heading towards that for Izzy hot swap with rockets for the DPS meta in Lightfall. However, regardless of this meta, this is going to be an incredible choice to pick up, especially now that it'll do even more damage based off of this update. These weapons are just a handful of recommendations that I think you should be picking up prior to Lightfall due to this increase in damage around kinetic weapons. I think that pretty much all of these will hold their own going into Lightfall and even into the day 1 raid as well. If you think I missed any weapons, let me know down in the comments, or even if you think there is a different role to chase for one of these weapons, please let me know down below. If you want to check out more of my content, be sure to slide on over to both my Twitch stream, where I try and do as much as I can with the community, as well as my TikTok page, where I upload a lot of clips and other informational content. Both will be linked in the description below. I appreciate you all making it to the end of the video. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.